So let's do this. Today we're talking about generating move scores, and I know that's a little bit of a vague topic, so I want to break it down a little bit. Generating move scores. There's something out there called big data, and we all know about it in some way now. Some of us know more about it than others, but we know that there are different things, different devices, different apps, different tools that are collecting data on each of us. And that data is used to make predictions. It's used to serve up, whether it's advertising, whatever it might be, things to try to either sell you something or provide personalized information. So looking back, one of the first tools that used big data were the grocery card stores, where you'd get a discount if you used their frequent shopper card, and they could track what you were using. And now it's gone all the way towards, if you've been watching the news about TikTok, they're tracking a lot, more so even than Facebook or Instagram or any of these other devices. So big data is huge. Why is this important to us? Well, big data can help us predict who might be buying or selling. And so this relates to Ninja when we start talking about warm and hot buyers and sellers, and specifically warm buyers and sellers. And for those of you that were with us and had been familiar with First, and maybe you subscribed to First, this is what First was doing, is they were aggregating all this data and learning how sellers acted so that we knew who was more likely to buy or sell based on their activity, whether it was on credit cards, whether it was on the shopping cards like we're talking about, whether it was where they went or where they spent money, etc. It would predict who was most likely to move. So this video is all about generating move scores, but without having to use big data, without having to use any of these tools or a subscription. Really, what we're going to talk about doing is using Ford questions, using your relationships to determine who is most likely to move. So we're going to get the video started. So I'm going to turn off my camera and we'll get started with the video. It's about 9 minutes. And one more reminder, please make sure that you type any takeaways into the chat as you hear them.
Welcome to the Ninja Path. My name is Larry Kendall. I'm the author of Ninja Selling, and our goal is to help you increase your income per hour so that you can have a life. We help you do that by helping you focus on 3 success keys: your mindset, your skill set, and your actions. This particular lesson is both a Ninja skill set and action lesson devoted to helping you generate what we call move scores. What if you had a system that could predict the 20% of the people in your database that are going to move in the next 12 months? Would that be valuable to you? We have that system, and we're going to show you how it works. One of the things that's really hot right now in our industry is what's called big data and predictive analytics. It's amazing what they know about us and how we're being tracked on everything from Facebook to our GPS to what we're spending in a store on our credit cards to what our clicks are on the internet. And all of this is being fed into big data computers and predicting our behavior. It's to the point now that big data and predictive analytics is trying to predict move scores. Who are the people who are most likely to move? And they will basically build that out in a zip code and sell names of the people that are the 20% of the population that's most likely to move, has the highest move scores in that zip code. We've been doing this the old-fashioned way for 45 years. We call it analog predictive analytics. And we've been doing it by simply observing the changes that occur in people's lives, specifically in their FORD. What are the changes that are occurring in their family? Changes that are occurring in their business, their occupation. R stands for recreation, changes in their recreational habits. And D stands for dreams, changes in their dreams. What are some of their dreams? What we know is this: those are the 4 core areas of their life. And if there's a change that occurs there, it's going to affect their real estate. When we look at the Ninja 9, the 5 daily habits and the 4 weekly habits, let's focus on habit number 5, which is your warm list. This is where we get into the Ninja form of predictive analytics. A warm list is a list of people who want to buy or sell. But they may not know they want to buy or sell. But we know they want to buy or sell because we're observing the changes going on in their lives. And they want to buy or sell in the next year. Let me share an example. I was at my Rotary Club meeting and I'm sitting next to a friend named Russ. And I said, "Hey Russ, how's business?" Simple Ford question about occupation. How's business? Russ lights up and he says, Larry, I just got the promotion I've worked my entire career for. And we did a little high five. He's going to be vice president of the Western region of the United States for his company. We're talking a little bit about it, and then all at once he gets serious. He says, the only downside is I have to work out of the Denver office. I said, well, how long is your commute? He said, about an hour down and an hour back, about 2 hours a day. I start to do the math. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 10 hours a week. Russ probably gets 4 weeks vacation, so he's probably working 48 weeks a year. 10 hours a week times 48 weeks, 480 hours a year. 480 hours a year divided by a 40-hour work week. Russ is going to spend 12 40-hour work weeks a year on I-25. Note to self, Russ is moving. Russ doesn't know he's moving. Russ is euphoric about the promotion and he's in denial about the commute. That day, Russ went on my warm list. He has a reason to move. I gave him a move score. I just stayed in touch with Russ. We had kids the same age. They played on the same soccer team. So every Saturday, I would see Russ at the soccer game. I'd say, hey, Russ, how you doing? He says, Larry, how's the market? I laughed. I said, hey, Russ, how's the commute? He says, it's killing me. He says, Mary and I have talked about it, and what we want to do when school's out is we want you to list our house. We want you to find us a realtor in Denver. I don't see my family. I'm spending all my time in the car. That day, Russ went from my warm list to my hot list. My hot list is a list of people who want to buy or sell. They now know they want to buy or sell. They want to buy or sell with me, and they want to buy or sell within the next 90 days. That's how it works. But the warm list is the key. Knowing the people that want to move or will be moving before they know it. We've developed a way for you to build this warm list, and it's in the handouts that you've downloaded. It's called These People Probably Want to Buy or Sell. And it's a very simple process. We would encourage you to follow that process and develop your warm list. It's basically 16 questions. And let me give you some examples. What you'll do is you'll take out your database and you'll start with question number 1, which, have they had an increase in family size? If the answer is yes, you'll write a 1 beside their name, because an increase in family size many times will drive a home decision. The second question is, do they have children under the age of 10? If the answer is yes, you'll put a 2 beside their name. Children under 10, one of the questions we have for them is, what are your dreams for your kids? And most of the time parents say, well, I have a dream that they go to college, but they haven't made any college plans. And we have a little brochure for them on how to pay for a college education through investing in real estate. And so our note is to provide them with that brochure. We've provided you with that brochure in an earlier lesson. Question number 3, do they have teenage children? If they do, you write a 3 beside their name. They don't have any more children, but their children are bigger and they're louder and they bring their big loud friends over, and the floor plan may not work so well anymore. You know, maybe their children have left home. They're now an empty nester. Or maybe the children are boomeranging back. Maybe they now have adult children who've returned home. Or maybe they have an elderly parent who's moved in. Go through the 16 questions. If any of those apply, put that number out beside their name. At the end, what you do is you look at your list, and the names with the most numbers out to the side have the highest move scores. It's as simple as that. And that's the group then that you want to focus your energy on for this next year. They're the most likely to want to do something. About 5 years ago, big data met Ninja. A good friend of mine was one of the early leading edge people in the area of big data and predictive analytics. He formed a company with some very smart people from an Ivy League university, some very large computers, and they began to predict move scores. He came to me and he said, you know, we can predict the 20% of households that are most likely to move by any zip code. And he offered to let us be the first in our market to buy those zip codes. The cost to buy those zip codes was a 6-figure number. I said, you know, before we do that, in looking at your data, it's amazing. But I want to do an experiment first. He said, fine. I said, I'd like to give you a database of households, of names. And I'd like for you to go through, run it through your computer, and tell us which of those households are most likely to move. And he said, okay, we can do that. Now, The list that I gave him came from the databases of 3 of our very top producers. So I had their database. I also had their warm lists, which is their people with the highest move scores. When he came back to me with the list, took that list of names and came up with the top 20%, I compared it to our warm lists, and it was almost a perfect match. So we've been doing predictive analytics for years. We do it the old-fashioned way, and we've done it through trial and error for over 40 years of what are the changes that are going on in people's lives that are going to drive their real estate. Here's the benefit of the warm list. It's free. You don't have to go out and spend 6 figures to buy a list of names in zip codes. And secondly, our top producers have a personal relationship with those folks versus buying just a list of names. If you follow the Ninja Path, and if you do success habit number 5, which is your warm list, and build those move scores, it will change your business. You can be very on purpose in your business. You can know exactly not only how much business you're going to do this next year, but who you're going to do it with. We encourage you to do that. Follow the Ninja Path and generate those move scores. Thanks for joining us.
All right. So how was that? I saw a lot of comments, a few comments coming in, not that many, but I think the takeaways were pretty condensed this time. So a couple of things. Carma, what did you see in the chat?
What did I see? A couple good things in terms of that the warm list is the key. Personal relationships, attraction, not promotion. Don't sell, be a resource. And, participate in the world. In other words, get out and about in your community, staying in front of people, which is how you have those conversations where you get the answers to some of those 16 questions without even asking them, right? So I think those are some of the key things that I saw that your contacts and clients may not know they want to move, but you do because you're listening to what's going on in their lives, looking for predictive activities. Let's see, be curious and interested in people's lives, forward questions, asking those all the time. That it focuses on relationships, work with people you know. You don't need data, you create your own. Pretty much that's what I saw.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we'll talk about in a minute here is what happened when we signed up with First and how this is different and truly more effective in some ways. And so when we talk about forward questions and relationships, one of the things I want to stress before we get into a little bit of a dialogue between Carma and I right now is, and this sounds cheesy, but practicing asking forward questions. And so if you've been through Ninja, there is a time where you actually talk with your neighbor and you practice asking forward questions. And the key is to not only ask forward questions, but actively listen to what people are saying. Because how many times do we talk with people and we have great conversations, but we didn't actually listen to what they were saying? And what did we miss? We potentially missed the fact that they have a life change that's going to drive a real estate decision coming up. So one of the suggestions, coming out of today would certainly be, as cheesy as it sounds, practice forward questions. Practice them with your family. And you don't have to tell them, hey, I'm going to practice forward questions, get ready. All you have to do is start asking forward questions, maybe over the holiday weekend when you're talking and meeting with people you don't see every day. Forward questions draw out life changes, just like the example that Larry gave when he was at his Rotary Club meeting. So let's go into a little bit of a discussion here. I know, Carma, you had a question you wanted to ask.
Right. So how do you guys determine which of your contacts should be designated as warm? In other words, those that are going to make you money and transact within the next 12 months, and hopefully you're ranking them in your CRM. So how do you guys do that? How do you determine that? What do you use as your criteria? Is there anything you guys are doing? We would love to hear if you guys have any ideas there or processes that you use. And then, because these are the people we want to be in front of, right? The people that we can see are going to buy or sell. So let's see, we've got a couple. Somebody, if they're having a baby, getting divorced, people that have told you they're thinking of buying and selling, good. Somebody said this reinforces the importance of phone calls. Past renters whose lease is expiring. Yep, that's a good one. People that have actually voiced they're thinking of buying or selling. Yep. Empty nesters. This is that time of year. Well, it used to be before COVID when everybody stayed at home with their parents or returned home. But this used to be empty nester season. People that are growing their personal lives. Okay. Friends, kids who are getting engaged. Yep. That's another good one. All right. Past clients who put their searches on hold, I presume because of COVID, Gloria. People that are relocating. Good. College grads, another good one. Job promotion or job loss, finding out stuff on Facebook, Instagram, right? Those kinds of things. Now that we're not able to actually be out in large groups, paying attention to social media is more critical than ever to find out what's going on with people. Maureen has an Excel spreadsheet that shows who she needs to reach out to monthly based on conversations and past work with them. So we've got some different constantly touching active hot prospects. So those are some of the things.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's good. I mean, listening and how do you learn about those things? Is by asking Ford questions, right? And one of the things that I really want to stress, because we heard a lot of feedback during the shelter in place when we were talking about when do it now, talking about just call people, literally just call people and talk and connect. And I know if I were to add it up, it would be at least 50 either listings or buyers or transactions at this point that have happened because of calls during the COVID-19 shelter in place. And so how we're, it goes to show that connecting with people, highlighting the people that are most likely to move based on your conversation will result in something. So the question is now, if you haven't done this exercise yet, meaning if you haven't built a warm list yet, if you haven't done the 16 questions or gone through the analysis that we're about to share with you, are you willing to do it? Do you see the value in creating a warm list? And if you do, hit yes up in the chat. And the reason being is really want your commitment here, because if you don't focus on the people that are most likely to move, we're missing transactions. And not only transactions, we're missing referrals that lead to transactions. So it's not just the people that you're forwarding. It's actually the people that you're forwarding who know someone that is likely to buy or sell and staying in front of them.
Group. Sorry, Kevin. We have an enthusiastic group. We have lots of yeses, lots of commitment to doing this.
It's great. And we're going to make it super easy, in the handout, and I'll send it out with the recording afterwards to everyone that's here. There are 16 questions you just ask yourself. It doesn't mean you have to analyze 300 people in your database and go line by line, although you can do that. But it's more of highlighting the people that are already in your mind, conversations you've had with people. So we'll talk about that in just a second. Carma, I got a question for you though. Based on Larry's video, what is the percentage of your database that should be on your warm list? The people that are most likely to be moving in the next 12 months?
I paid attention, Kevin. It is 20%. So
good work.
Why, thank you. So my question back to you though is then how valuable is it to know that 20% of your database most likely to move?
Well, here's the thing. What's interesting about this is there's limited time. You only have 24 hours in a day. And if you have business, you have clients currently, you have a limited amount of time to spend generating new business. And you have a limited amount of funds, right? Meaning you don't have $300,000 to spend on marketing this year to make sure you're hitting everybody consistently who potentially may ever have a need. So what do you have to do? You have to focus your time, your energy, and your money. And so there's no better way to do that than actually focusing on the people that you've had conversations with where you feel like there's going to be a real estate need. And the point is, someone typed this into the chat, even if they don't know it. So remember, it's one thing when someone comes to us and they say, hey, in the fall, I'm looking to purchase, looking to move, we're going to look for a bigger place. That's one thing. Now, that's important. You need to put them on your warm list, because if you wait until fall to talk with them, guaranteed they're in open houses, talking with other agents, who knows who else they know. They're likely, they're going to have options, and it's not working with you. So you have to stay in touch with them. But beyond that, when you hear someone talk about all the life changes that everyone listed in the chat when it comes to, getting married, getting divorced, having babies, empty nesting, new job loss, commute change, whatever it might be, we need to highlight that and put that on the warm list and focus on those people. Again, if you have a database of 300 people, you cannot take 300 people to coffee in a year. Likely impossible. You cannot call 300 people every month. So the goal is to focus on the people that are most likely to be moving based on the changes they told you about. So Carma, I got a question for you then. You know, a lot of us buy leads or get leads, or we focus on leads, or we focus on, you know, in the past, if we bought a list, because I know there are some brokers that buy lists or databases and all this, you know, is that 20% that is on our warm list more valuable than those leads, and why?
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, it is all about working with the people that know you, like you, and trust you. Those people are more likely to reach out to you than a stranger is going to. You already have a relationship with them. Again, this business is about relationships. So if you've invested time and money being in front of the people in your sphere, and then you can further narrow that universe down to the top 20% that are likely to move, your odds of getting those people transacting is much higher than just, you know, posting something out there or an ad in a paper, right? Something where it just is not targeted. So again, this is another form of targeted marketing in its own way, right? Because our time and money is valuable, and who are you going to spend your time and money on? Because you want to get a return for the time and money that you spend. And people who know you, like you, and trust you from another context or from having done a real estate transaction with you, those people are so much more likely to turn to you. So, any other thoughts? Let's see what we've got. Yes. And the people on your list already are fans. I like that, Michelle. Thank you. So then, I get to ask you a question now. This is our back and forth question day. So Kevin, once you've got your 20% identified, then what do you do next?
Here's the thing, and this is where it's super important and why focusing on your 20% is key, because you need to, again, we said there's not enough time in the day, there's not enough money to be able to, you know, monthly, weekly, monthly, whatever it might be, or even annually do certain things with people. So once you highlight your 20%, you have to ramp up communication. And what that means is, let's say you're walking out on the street and someone tells you that they're expecting soon. That doesn't mean that you give them 10 business cards and say, put one in every room of your house and don't forget to call me when you decide to move. What it means is, you know then that you need to ramp up communication. And that means forward questions. That means staying in contact, doing thoughtful things, put them on a cap gift list. Send them handwritten notes, add them to your flow so that when they realize they have a need, if they didn't already, when they realize they have a need, they need more space, whatever it might be, that you're in front of them, that you are the person that is in the flow, that you're the person that comes to mind. And likewise, even if they're not the ones that are moving, they're likely to refer you because you have ramped up the communication. And oftentimes, anybody that is thinking about real estate, meaning they realize they have a move coming or a need coming, they also know others that are in the same boat. So think about it. It's like when you buy a car. You go out, you buy a new car. Maybe you never noticed a black Nissan Sentra before. Let's just use a random car. You never noticed black Nissan Sentras. As soon as you're in the market for a black Nissan Sentra, you see them everywhere. And it's the same way when someone is thinking about buying or selling, they're in tune with other people that are doing the same thing, and they're more likely to refer you. So at the end of the day, when you have your warm list, these are the people that you need to be in constant communication with. And the key is using the CRM to do it. In fact, we built the CRM off of Ninja principles. There's a warm list and a hot list. And so there are certain things we do that are automated in the CRM, meaning when you create a CMA for somebody, they're automatically marked as a warm seller. You can go in and change it or remove it or change them to a warm buyer maybe if that's why you're using it. But as soon as you create a CMA, they're marked as a warm seller. The things that we can't automate are when they tell you that they are getting married. The things we don't know are the conversations you're having when they tell you they're looking to move in the fall. And we know what happens. We get busy, right? There's not enough time in the day. We forget the conversations we had this morning already. So what do you have to do? You have to remember to mark them in the CRM as warm, because then you'll receive a reminder bi-weekly to reach out to those people. And remember, it's not an awkward call. It's not an awkward call where you call them and you say, hey, is there anything I can do for you? I know you mentioned you were expecting, right? You don't say that. That was a problem with first. We didn't know what to say to people. And that's why practicing forward questions are so important. And it's not hard. I know many of you, actually, I'm seeing a lot of people on this call that I've talked with during the shelter in place that shared with me once they made the first phone call, how easy it was. And last week on Coffee with Amy and Kevin, we talked with someone from Arlington Heights, and she shared with us about how she made that first call and then realized the impact it had. So as soon as you start making this 20% list, as soon as you start marking people as warm, forward questions are the answer. Staying in touch, adding them to your morning routine when you write cards, handwritten notes. So long answer to an easy question, but it is ramp up the communication, just like people are saying in the chat. So, yeah.
There was one thing that got typed in by Nancy, which I think it would be something I'd love to point out, which is, so we have these 16 questions in the packet and they're great. But I think another one right now that's really timely is thinking about those people whose house or condo became uncomfortable, didn't work for them during COVID. And now that we see that maybe, we may be sheltering in place again in the future, potentially, that restrictions may go back to, where they were a few months ago if the pandemic doesn't get under control. I think that would be a great filter to use for designating people as warm as well, because right now that's a current life change, right? If these people that are in a city condo with 2 kids are losing their minds because they can't work from home, those people might be worth reaching out to and sort of asking how they're doing just in general. So that was one thing that I thought was a great comment. That was
Absolutely.
My takeaway, Kevin.
Absolutely. So this weekend, a lot of you committed yes. Not everyone wrote yes into the chat. Don't worry, I didn't record it maybe, but if you're committed and you understand what the importance of the warm list is, you will see more transactions. It's guaranteed. We already know the more relationships you foster, the more communication you have with your people, and if you do it in a targeted way, you will close more transactions. It is guaranteed. And as Larry said at the end of the video, this stuff works. The system works, but you have to work the system. You have to do it. So thank you for joining. Watch for the video to come out so you can recap and watch again if you'd like. It will have the packet attached. The packet was also attached into the post that Carma made into the agent app for this event. And then also sign up now for next week. We're doing Managing Seller Expectations next Wednesday, 9:30 a.m., where we're going to talk about 3 things, really. One is how to present data in an effective way. Number 2 is how to combat the AVMs or talk about the Zestimate in an effective way. And then also, what is the one thing that you can do that will solidify the seller being able to make a decision and accept a good contract or offer when they receive it. So thank you, everybody. Thanks, Carma. Hopefully this is a good session. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Go use your CRM.